Gloomsbrooke is where the game begins. If you have an open world game, the initial area that you explore needs to be able to communicate the basic mechanics of the game that you are about to spend a lot of time playing. So to me, the idea of letting Spawn and Shadowhawk just sort of wander around in the open world kind of didn't seem nearly as interesting as having them be trapped in this space that forces them to go through different tutorials for several hours. And I think that that is an important part of any adventure game, is making sure that people know the intricacies of all the different systems as clearly as frankly as possible. A lot of games these days are like, oh, well, we've done away with how to play this game, or there's no tutorials, we just sort of like make the player figure it out. And I find that to be very condescending. I mean, people say that they understand things, but they don't. And I think that's just a general observation of culture, of the culture that we live in today, is that people are like, I understand this. And it's like, you know, you don't understand this. The larger picture is being missed because someone hasn't sat you down and sort of laid out every option for you as clearly as possible. I mean, you can't say that you understand anything because you don't understand anything. And the idea that you do understand anything without like basically like those explicit moments, I think is a very I don't think people understand. I think people are willing to say just about anything to get out of a little bit of light reading. And Gloomsbrooke to me is a place of, it's not a place of challenges, it's a place of opportunities to learn. And people want to learn. I mean, your brain starts dying at 21, you know? It's like your brain grows and grows and grows, and then at 21 it dies and dies and dies. So the idea that you would sort of like, you know, obviously a 21-year-old could play this game. They could play this game, but I mean, we're thinking more of like the sort of late 20s to mid 30s audience for it. And those people's brains are dying. And so they need to learn. They need to learn more things, because the more that you learn, the more that your brain is active, the less likely you are to suffer as you age. So you have to keep your brain active. And one of the things that you do to make your brain stay active as you age is you learn new things, and you learn things well. If you try to skip a 45-minute tutorial on you know, melee combat versus projectile combat, you're not going to go anywhere in this game. People will be able to take that knowledge and put it into, and you know, it's not like these things are going to be silos where like each one is walled off from the each thing is walled off from the next. Each of these things communicate with the other thing, and it's almost like you have instead of, you know, if you think of just Gloomsbrooke as a town, this is a town with walls and rooms and houses and buildings and streets and dungeons, but it's also a place that there's constant flows of information. There's things that are happening that affect one thing, there's something else happens, and another thing is changed. When you extrapolate that and you get into what each one of those moments are, or each one of these little significant points, how they relate to the next significant point, or the point before it, or the point in front of it, or the point behind it, you're talking about a web of information that is dense and varied and detailed, that can't fully be appreciated unless you put the time and effort into doing it. This isn't a game that's going to be fun to play. This is a game that is going to challenge your ability to absorb information and to communicate that information to the people around you. That's the people that are in the game, that's the people that are outside of the game. People will want to know what you're spending your time on, and if you can't explain that to people, if you can't explain how you spend your time in a game that stars Spawn and Shadowhawk in 1600s colonial America, you are going to get a lot of people who think that they know you, that they know what is happening to you. They don't know anything about you. They don't know anything about the richness of your internal life. They don't know about the thoughts that you share with they know about the thoughts that you share with them, but they don't know about the thoughts that you refused to share with anybody. There are things that are inside of your head that stay with you and that you keep just for yourself. And that's what this game is about. It's about the difference between the internal sort of machinations of systems and how they communicate with the outside world versus how they work when they are completely compartmentalized and kept from people, when they are kept inside and buried and are inscrutable.